In the midst of death, we worship that God who lives forever. Amen. As Gertrude Stein lay on her deathbed, it is said that Alice B. Toklas approached her and said in her grief, "Gertrude, what is the answer?" Gertrude is reputed to have answered, "And what is the question?" and died. Questions and answers. Which comes first? Which is the easier, the question or the answer? Some Greeks came to Philip and said, "We wish to see Jesus." Was that a question? Was that an answer? They were looking for an answer. A crowd of El Salvadorian peasants went into the chapel to see their Archbishop, Oscar Romerno. Were they asking a question or were they seeking an answer? As they were there, he was shot. As Philip and Andrew took the Greeks to see Jesus, he was on his way to the cross. Questions, answers. What is the answer? Well, what's the question? When they were wondering about John the Baptist, they asked Jesus, "What's this person all about?" Jesus said, "What did you come out to look for?" He answered a question with a question. Looking for somebody with king's robes living in a king's palace? No, he said. Look again. Ask the question again. Who are you looking for? Jesus went into the wilderness. Did he have the answers? No, he was asking questions. What am I here for? What am I to do with my life? If I'm called by God to be his beloved son, what am I supposed to be doing about that? Our faith is about questions, and we should never be beguiled by easy answers, because the easy answers never work. We live in a frightening world. We live in a frightening country. We live in a city that is full of fright. Here we gather comfortably in this beautiful church, consumed as we are with our sense of community and our desires to do good. And around us, people are being shot dead by gang members, by police. People in our Congress are seeking to take away from the poor all the few things that we have to give them. A prime minister seeks the re-election and rejects the very possibility of peace with his neighbor, Israel and Palestine. It is hard to look anywhere and not see why. The questions are hard and there are no easy answers. Jesus did not have an easy answer either. When they came to him, what did he do? He told them about his death coming. What had he done? He had wept over Jerusalem. The hardness of life, the lack of easy answers. Richard Rohr says, the thing about, we confuse all the time the question of how God relates to us. He says, God never has to change his mind. God simply loves. It's a never-failing love. It cannot be quenched. It cannot be vanquished. It is we whose mind must be changed. We who must be transformed. To say no once and for all to easy answers and to ask the hard questions and to find the hard answers that may lie there. And the answer lies in the martyrdoms of an Oscar Romerno. The answer lies in breaking our lives and seeing them broken and bringing them to this altar and receiving them back in the knowledge of the never-failing love of God. Lent is about seeing into ourselves, seeing into our world, and seeing what the questions really must be that we cannot avoid. Why is it that violence does not stop? Why is it that the cross happened once and that was not enough? Why is it that injustice continues? Why is it that it must never be in my backyard that the good happens, but it's somebody else's? Why is it? Last week, Robert spoke so feelingly about why can we not be angry enough? It is not an anger that is pointless. It is an anger that leads us to see the questions and to seek the hard answers, which can be costly. Lent is about looking for the hard questions. Lent is about seeing that the answer is in a Good Friday. It's in tearing open the veils of all the prejudice and all the corruption that sickens our world. It may begin with ourselves, but it can only lead ourselves out to the world around us, and we know that so well here, sitting as we do in the midst of a neighborhood torn both by violence on the one hand and gentrification on the other, by polarizations, by anger, by indifference, by complacency. I feel in the midst of my own personal Lent at times like this. We all need to have that sense that Lent has a reality to it because it is something the world is living out. And this world is trying to always to follow Jesus, and as with the disciples, not really knowing what it's all about. Getting there to Jerusalem and saying, "No, Jesus, you can't do this. There's got to be an easier way." Until we can see that for ourselves and in ourselves, that we are the reluctant disciples, that we too need to follow him there, be in the garden with him there, hear him plea himself for an easier way, and recognize that there is no easier way. And do we see in him, and in the Martin Luther Kings, and in the Nelson Mandelas, and the Mahatma Gandhis, and the Oscar Romernos, in our neighbors who work so hard here for community and for presence of love? Till we see that, Lent will be pointless. So let this be a time for us of harsh questioning. Let us see in this time the possibility that beyond that cross will lie at Easter, but itself full of its own questions. We have seen the Lord, came the final answer on that Easter evening. So what? What will it mean?